it down for a base hit. Hits on the grass. It rolls through to the Mason sign. A run scores. Story on his way to second. Going to be close. And he's safe.
Boston Red Sox baseball on WDEV is brought to you by Mackenzie Country Classics, R.K. Miles, Rich Jacobs, the Edward Jones Financial Advisor in Morrisville, Gifford Medical Center, and Waterbury Sports. Your home for Boston Red Sox baseball is WDEV.
The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to WDEV@radiovermont.com.
The teams you care about.
Mac Jones is good. That's not the question. The question is he good enough to win repeatedly in this loaded AFC?
The stories that matter to you.
If I'm Xander Bogaerts, I need 3 things in order to get over that insulting contract offer.
This is your home for New England sports.
Jason Tatum, superstar. Book it.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Brady Farkas Show on a Tuesday right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Short show tonight. We're up until 6:10. Then it's Red Sox baseball, Sox and Blue Jays, and what is a must-win series. It's really like a must-sweep series for the Red Sox. At this point, the Red Sox are 6 games out of the final wild card spot. They're 6 games behind Toronto. And really, they're pretty much 7 games behind Toronto. The reason why is because there is no tiebreaker this year at the end of the year. There is no game 163. It is just your head-to-head record. So, Red Sox have already lost the season series to the Blue Jays. So the Blue Jays had the tiebreaker. So finishing tied with them does you no good. You need to finish ahead of them. So essentially you are 7 games behind Toronto. Red Sox are likely to lose the series against Tampa for the year, so they're going to be behind them. Red Sox did win the season series against Seattle, so they really are 6 games behind them. But it's a must-win series. It really is a must-sweep series. We've got it for you. Beginning tonight, it's Josh Winkowski against Ross Stripling. Jackie Bradley Jr. back in town now playing for Toronto. So our coverage, 6:10, first pitch, 7:10. We'll talk a little bit about the Patriots, a little bit on the Kevin Durant stuff as that finally comes to an end. And we are going to start off with the Red Sox here in just a moment.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show were brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center, with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. You can also get in on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line at 802-585-3026. It's your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and Morrisville. I've been thinking a lot about this. I continue to think a lot about the Red Sox and their future. And I have determined this. The Red Sox future comes down to one word: trust. That's it. The Red Sox future comes down to trust. That is all. I trust Chaim Bloom, and I trust Red Sox ownership more than you do. That's it. Right? I have fought with everybody about Chaim Bloom and about how much money they're going to spend and about the plan that you think they can or won't execute. It all comes down to trust. I have it. A lot of you don't. And it was all crystallized for me last night when, once again, I was listening to John Tomasi of NBC Sports Boston talk about the Red Sox.
Yeah, I think you're going to be worse next year. And I guess that reflects a lack of trust in this front office to do what needs to be done. I'm still not convinced that, forget about identifying the right players and saying you're willing to extend yourself for free agents. I'm not convinced that they will be able to outbid anyone for anyone good, because I think their idea of value and the market's idea of value are just too far apart. And yes, they went and got Trevor Story this winter, but it was after like a dozen other shortstops signed, and he kind of had nowhere else to go.
Look, that's Tomasi. That cut was 33 seconds long. 33 seconds of commentary there from John Tomasi. I could lop it down to 10.
Yeah, I think you're going to be worse next year. And I guess that reflects a lack of trust in this front office.
I didn't even need 10. It was like 5. Reflects a lack of trust. It's all about trust. That is it. How much do you trust Ty and Bloom? How much do you trust Red Sox management? Because I do trust them. I feel like I have seen this movie before, and I think I know how it ends. A team decides that it's going to go through a change, and that change can be painful, but that change can also open up a lot of opportunities, big opportunities. And that's where the Red Sox are, and I trust them to capitalize. Look, outside of Trevor Story, the Red Sox have largely sat out. They've sat idly from the free agent market, from the big free agent market. They didn't get in on Marcus Semien. They weren't in on Corey Seager. They weren't in on Carlos Correa. They didn't get in on Justin Verlander or Seiya Suzuki. That's a deviation from what the Red Sox usually do. It's a big-time deviation. But as a result, the Red Sox are going to be flush with cash this offseason. Listen to the numbers I'm about to give you. JD Martinez is gone, right? He's a free agent. That frees up $19 million. Kike Hernandez being gone frees up $8 million. That's $27 million total. Nathan Eovaldi being gone is $17 million. Now we're up to $44 million free. Christian Vasquez, Rich Hill, Michael Wacha, Matt Strahm, that's over $20 million more free. So now we're at $64 million. Kevin Plawecki being gone, that's $66 million. You're no longer going to pay David Price. That's $16 more million, getting us up to $82 million free. Then Xander Bogaerts, who is going to opt out, that's $20 million free. Now we're at $102 million. And while very unlikely, it is possible, it's unlikely, Chris Sale could opt out too, which would free up another $27 million. The Red Sox are going to have between $102 and $129 million free just next year. Think about that. Between $102 and $129 million free. I trust that the Red Sox will reinvest in this team. They just have to, and I just have to believe it. I am usually not a drink the Kool-Aid guy. I am usually look at something skeptical guy. I am usually hard on the Red Sox. In this case, I just can't be. I believe the fan pressure is loud enough. The noise is loud enough for John Henry to hear it. I have to believe the desire to not be in last place and to get back to a World Series is strong enough. The Red Sox have always spent, but they've usually spent it kind of trickling 1 year at a time. In this case, they saved up all their pennies in the piggy bank for one off season, and I am okay with that. John Tomasi and all these people paint a doomsday scenario for the Red Sox. $102 to $129 million is free. You can do an awful lot for your baseball team with $102 to $129 million. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. Carlos Rodon, Trey Turner, Noah Syndergaard, Aaron Judge, Jose Abreu, Aroldis Chapman, Michael Brantley, Kenley Jansen, Dansby Swanson, Edwin Diaz, Sean Manaea, Wilson Contreras, Andrew Benintendi, Chris Bassett, Tyler Anderson, Trey Mancini, Corey Kluber, Mitch Haniger, Brandon Nimmo, Jamison Tyone. Those are just some of the free agents available next offseason, in addition to your own free agents. You're telling me that with at minimum $102 million and at maximum 130, you're telling me the Red Sox can't sign 3 or 4 of those guys? Heck, they could resign Xander Bogaerts at the $24 million I want them to resign him to and still have $75 million left to play with to go get 3 or 4 of those guys. That would make them instantly better. I believe and I trust that that can happen. So no, look, the Red Sox are not an overnight fix. They are not a perfect organization, and I don't advocate for spending your way out of trouble usually. But the Red Sox have built the farm system that is at least adequate now, and they've got the financial flexibility that they can turn this around in 1 year. They absolutely can, and anyone telling you that they can't just isn't looking hard enough. The Mets went out in one off season. Okay, the Mets have made the playoffs in a handful of years. In one off season, Max Scherzer, Mark Canha, Starling Marte, trade for Chris Bassett, pair him with Lindor and DeGrom, one of the best teams in baseball. The Mets did it in one off season. If you don't want to just talk about the Mets, go look at my Mariners, who have stunk forever. Used their farm system in the offseason to trade for Adam Frazier and Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez. Real professional players. Not the 21-year-old kids, not the replacement level players. They used the farm system again to acquire Luis Castillo at the deadline. They used their financial flexibility to sign Robbie Ray in the offseason. If my Mariners can do it, the Red Sox can do it. The White Sox had 7 consecutive losing seasons, and in one off season, they were in the playoffs the next year. And last year, they won 93 games. It can happen quickly. When you have employed the strategy the Red Sox have, it can happen quickly. Build up the farm system, stay committed to it, stay disciplined to it, cultivate that. The Red Sox now have a top 15 system in baseball. I saw them as high as 11 in one publication. I saw them at 13 in another. They've got 3 top 50 prospects in baseball right now. So the farm system is better. They've got real guys that can impact it, that can play for them. They've got guys they can trade away to go and fulfill some of their needs. Build the farm system and get the financial flexibility. They've been saving their allowance rather than some of you. Do kids even get allowances anymore? But some of your parents there, they probably give allowances, right? You give your kid $2 for the week. And a lot of your kids probably spend it all in that week, right? Maybe it's $5 with inflation is $5, right? You give them $5, they go and spend it instantly. They get an ice cream cone, they get this, they get a gumball from the store, and it's gone. But one of those kids out there takes the $5 this week and the $5 that week and the $5 that week and the $5 that week, and he's got $20 at the end of the month. And by the end of the year, he's got over $200, and he goes and buys one thing that's really cool. That's what the Red Sox have done. They have saved it all for this offseason. I trust that Chaim Bloom and John Henry and Sam Kennedy are going to do the right thing with all of what they have done. Not on the micro level, not everything the Red Sox have done has worked. They should have, in my mind, sold at the deadline. They could have gotten in and gotten better players in the offseason. All of that's true. But on the macro, this is the plan that's unfolding before your eyes. And it's a real plan. I told you at the deadline the Red Sox looked directionless. Well, right now, I see the direction. The farm system is better. The players can help. You can trade away others. And you've got between $102 and $129 million to spend. You can re-sign Bogarts and have $75 million left to play with. You could re-sign Devers and let Bogarts walk and have have $65, $70 million to play with. The opportunities are endless. The Padres, 9 years in a row, losing season. Boom, turn it around. White Sox, 7 years in a row, losing season. Boom, turn it around. Mariners haven't made the playoffs in 20 years. They build the farm system and tear it down and give this guy away and trade that guy, get financial flexibility, and boom, they are right now, as sitting here today, in the playoffs. This is a real plan. So I don't think it is as doomsday as John Tomasi makes it out to be. How do you feel? 802-585-3026. Text says if the Red Sox go cheap this offseason, then maybe they're not the big market enterprise everyone believes they are, and maybe John Henry ought to consider selling the team. I would agree with that. I have put the pressure on Chaim Bloom for this offseason. This is the moment of truth. I've defended Chaim Bloom. I've taken the arrows. We had a promo that said I was the president of the Chaim Bloom fan club. I have defended him enough. This offseason is where the bill comes due. I trust that it's going to be done correctly. Do the Red Sox need to spend every inch of the $102 million? No. But they need to spend 95 of it. They need to spend big. They need to spend big and or spend often. Look, Mitch Haniger plays for my Mariners. He's going to be 32 years old. Excellent player, bit of an injury history. Hit 39 home runs last year and drove in 100. I think he could sign a 3-year, $40 million deal. $13 million a year. He would look great in the Red Sox outfield. Andrew Benintendi, free agent. You want to bring him home? You can. You can get Haniger and Benintendi and instantly make your outfield better with Alex Verdugo. All of these options are on the table. You could let Bogarts walk, which I'm not a fan of, but you could do it. You could bring in Dansby Swanson. You could sign Aaron Judge if you want to a $40 million a year deal and put him in the outfield and still have a ton of money left to go accomplish other things. I trust that those kind of scenarios are on the table. If we go into next year and the Red Sox have $102 million to spend and they spend 62 of it, that will have been a failure. And I will crush them endlessly for it. And I will call for Chaim Bloom's job on a stake myself. I've defended him, and it's set up this offseason of opportunity. John Tomasi thinks the Red Sox are a sinking ship. In 2022, they are. Their season is over. But their future is just beginning. And you've got to believe that because I believe it. You have to trust. And if we trust, and if that trust is not rewarded, I will go to Boston with you and call for their jobs. But I've seen this movie before. I've seen it with the White Sox. I've seen it with the Cubs, who built the farm. Right, the Cubs, they built Chris Bryant and Starlin Castro and Wilson Contreras and who else? And Javi Baez, like all these guys that helped the Cubs win the World Series. I think Castro was gone at the time, but like the farm system that helped the Cubs win the World Series. And then what happened? They signed John Lester. They spent big on him. They then went and they traded for Aroldis Chapman. This is what teams do. Build the farm system, stay committed to it, get financial flexibility, and then make your move, and then strike. The Red Sox have that chance, and I trust that they're going to take it. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Scott in South Heroes says Judge is not going to sign a one-year contract. Whoever said that? I said if they want to give him $40 million a year, they can. Not for 1 year. They've got $102 million coming off the books next year. If they want to give Aaron Judge an 8-year, what's 8 times 40? I don't know. But if they want to give him 8 for $320, they can. If they want to give him 10 for $375, they can afford it. They have the money to do that. The opportunities are endless. No one said anything about a 1-year contract, Scott. He's going to want 8 to 12 years. I would not give Aaron Judge 12 years and $400 million at the age of 30, but they could do it if they wanted to, and they'd be better for a handful of years until they broke down. The opportunities are endless, and that's the point. The opportunities right now are evidently not endless for the Patriots offense. The report card on the Pats continues to not be good. We'll tell you the latest from Vegas. That's next on the Brady Farkas Show on DEV.
Here's the deal. I've had constipation with belly pain, discomfort, and bloating for years. I've tried a lot of laxatives and fiber supplements, but my symptoms keep coming back.
You could have a chronic condition called irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C. Linzess, or linaclotide, is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. Linzess works differently than laxatives. It lets you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2 years old. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. There could be more to your story with IBS-C. Talk to a doctor today. Say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS. Sponsored by AbbVie and Ironwood Pharmaceuticals.
Thursday night, a late model champion is crowned on Jet Service Envelope and Acura Printing Night at the nation's Site of Excitement Thunder Road. Plus a full card of racing for the Flying Tigers, Street Stocks, and Road Warriors, and the triumphant return of Run What You Brung. Adult admission $15. Kids age 6 to 12, $5, and a family of 4. 2 adults, 2 kids, just $30. Kids 5 and under free. Thursday night, Thunder Road, Quarry Hill, Barry. Post time 7 o'clock.
The Vermont State Colleges are the Community College of Vermont, Castleton University, Northern Vermont University, and Vermont Technical College. We exist for the benefit of Vermont. We provide diverse college experiences for Vermont students and the qualified workforce needed to grow the state's economy. We are your Vermont State Colleges. Vermonters have access to quality higher education no matter where they live. With locations within 25 miles of most households, as well as online, our state colleges are accessible to everyone. 83% of our students are Vermonters. They come to us for personal growth, career training, and better job opportunities. 2/3 of our graduates continue to live and work in Vermont, and our programs align with Vermont's workforce needs. Our students go on to provide healthcare, create new businesses, educate our children, design and engineer solutions in new technology, and more. These are the professionals that create a dynamic community and a thriving economy. Look to your Vermont State Colleges to drive Vermont's future at yourfuture.vsc.edu.
How well does your garden grow? Tune in Saturdays at 12:30 for In the Garden with Peter Burke. Peter and co-host Joel Nashman give you 1 full hour of the latest news, helpful tips, and your calls to talk about what's happening in your garden. It's brought to you in part by Montpelier Agway, your locally owned Montpelier Agway, East Montpelier Road. In the Garden with Peter Burke. Live Saturdays at 12:30. Hear the podcast anytime at WDEVradio.com. The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
This is former NFL wide receiver Keyshawn Johnson, and now we're back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV Radio and WDEVradio.com.
Thank you, Keyshawn. Brady Farkas Show back at it here on Vermont's news station, WDEV AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Red Sox baseball less than 20 minutes from now. Sox taking on the Blue Jays, first game of the series at Fenway. Multiple texts came in, even took a call in the break there. People all saying they agree with me, actually, that all hope is not lost for the Red Sox. That's good to hear. And someone says, with news that the Angels might be getting sold, how can the Red Sox get Shohei Ohtani? Well, they could empty the farm system for Shohei, and I'd probably be okay with that. They also they could also just wait for him to hit free agency and try to pay him $700 million. So it's going to be very interesting what Shohei Ohtani gets on the open market someday. It's going to be absolutely insane. Let's talk about the Patriots here, because we have more info coming out. The reports of the Patriots offense from training camp continue to not be good. Joint practices against the Raiders in Vegas. Andrew Callahan of the Boston Herald said it was the worst practice yet of the summer for the offense. He had Mac Jones going 7 of 17 against the Raiders, had him throwing a pick. Did say that there was a bit of a rebound at the very end. So after the 7 of 17, at the very end of the session, there was a strong close. But regardless, we are officially at the point where we can be nervous. We can officially be nervous about what we're hearing about the Patriots offense. We don't all have to jump ship. This does not mean the Pats are destined for 3-14, but we are at the point of the offseason where we can take full stock of what's going on and think that it matters. 3 weeks ago when the Patriots were struggling, no big deal. Plenty of time left. Couple of preseason games. We'll figure it out. Long way until the season. No. This is now the final week of joint practices. This is the final preseason game. This is the last tune-up. You've been at this for a month. There need to be real signs of improvement. And they're not there right now. We always hear cliche things in preseason like, we just need to get 1% better every day. Well, right now, the Patriots offense evidently is not getting better at all. In fact, they're making the opposite of progress. It is imperative that the Patriots offense start making some gains because we are 2.5 weeks away from opening day in Miami, September 11th. It's an improved Dolphins team that is a divisional opponent that you need to beat. The Patriots have a hard schedule this year. I don't know if you've noticed that. There is not time for them to kind of stub their toe through the first month of the season and just try to turn it on. No, you need to win early. This schedule is not built for you to stub your toe and turn it on at Thanksgiving. Not this year. You got Miami in week 1. You need to win that game. You got Pittsburgh in week 2 with either Mitch Trubisky or a rookie quarterback. You need to win that game. And you got the Lions in week 5. You need to win that game. The Pats need to be 3-2 in their first 5 games. Right? They got the Ravens and Green Bay in there also. They're going to lose both of those. So you need to beat Miami. You need to beat Detroit. And you need to beat Pittsburgh. You got to start off strong week 1. There is no time for this. It's a new offense. We'll figure it out. We'll be good in week 6. Because if you come out and go 1-5, the season's over. Right? And then we're instantly in the middle of October. We're talking about high and bloom again, figuring out Red Sox offseason moves. And I don't want that, just like I don't think you want that. I want a season where we're talking football all the way through. Pat's offense has got to get its act together. You cannot just start slow and figure it out. We're not at the point for you to sell all your Patriots stock, but you absolutely have license to be concerned. You have license to be aware of what's going on. Patriots are in Vegas, and I heard report 7 run plays, 6 of them were stuffed at the line of scrimmage or were a loss. I mean, you can't have that, right? You can't have that. The Patriots are not good enough defensively to carry the load for this team. The Patriots need to be able to score. We've said the Patriots offense is going to be their best unit. It needs to be their best unit. And if they can't get out of their own way, look, on Friday night against the Panthers, starting offense went 3 and out, and then they scored, but they were headed for 3 and out again until it passed to Devontae Parker, and then I think another one to Ty Montgomery. Like Friday night was a very uneven performance by the first team offense. What we're hearing is not good. It doesn't end the season, but it's absolutely an issue right now. Texter says, you might remember I was freaked out for Patriots Nation when Belichick hired Patricia and Joe Judge to run the offense. At the time, it kind of stunk of paranoid old guy who doesn't trust anyone who didn't work for him. The fact that Kraft or anyone didn't pound the table for Bill to hire a seasoned offensive coaching staff is going to have repercussions also. I can't argue with any of that. Something here is not working right now. And Bill Belichick put the target on his back yesterday. He said he's in charge of everything. He said the buck stops with him. So basically he's telling us not to blame Patricia, not to blame Judge. He's telling us to come after him. So that's what I'm going to do at some point. If Matt Patricia and Joe Judge are not qualified to coach this offense, then it's on Bill Belichick for putting them in place. There's still time, but that time is fleeting. September 11th is the kickoff. That is week 1 for you. You need to come out and hit the ground running. You need to play well. And you can't play well if all you're doing is getting your butt kicked by everybody you come in contact with. Got to figure it out. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. We'll get the national news update from CBS News, and then we will get into one more Patriots-related thing here before I give you the Red Sox lineups Remember the log jam at wide receiver we thought the Patriots had when it came to numbers and who was going to make the team? Well, that log jam is quickly settling itself out. As far as I can tell, there's only one question left the Patriots need to ask themselves in the wide receiver room. I'll tell you what that one question is. That's next on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV.
This is WDEV, Vermont's news station, owned and operated by the Radio Vermont Group. From the top of Sugarbush, 96.1 FM, WDEV Warren and Waitsfield, 96.5 W243 Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, along with our founding station, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury Montpelier, streaming at WDEVradio.com. 91 years of serving Vermont, the friendly pioneer, WDEV.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance.
I'm Monica Ricks in New York. A judge has now punted a motion back to former President Trump's legal team over documents seized from Mar-a-Lago. CBS's Stephen Portnoy has details.
Judge Aileen Cannon, who was appointed by the former president, says the Trump legal team has got more work to do. She's given them until Friday to file a supplement to their motion, fleshing out such detail as precisely what relief Trump is seeking from the court. In May, the head of the National Archives rejected an earlier effort by Trump's lawyers to stop the FBI from conducting a national security damage assessment over 15 boxes worth of material that he voluntarily turned over in January.
The National Archives found more than 100 classified documents in that batch. It is primary day in Florida, where Democratic Congressman Charlie Crist is making another run for governor.
This election will determine who gets to take on Ron DeSantis and actually bring some true freedom to the Sunshine State again.
He's up against Agriculture Commissioner Nikki Fried, who could become the state's first female governor. CBS's Scott McFarland is keeping tabs on New York.
In Manhattan, redistricting has forced Powerful Oversight Committee Chair Carolyn Maloney to run against Judiciary Committee Chair Jerry Nadler. Upstate, here in Clintondale, in New York's 19th district, it's a special election. Abortion rights, a big issue in the final days. Could be an indication of how big that issue will be in November.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott has signed a disaster declaration over record rain.
We're constantly looking at what extreme weather may lead to, whether it be power demand, extreme heat, extreme cold, heavy water, or even drought.
At least one person's died in floods. A jury's convicted two men who conspired to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. U.S. Attorney Andrew Burge.
The verdict confirms that this plot was very serious, very dangerous, posed a threat not only to the governor personally and her family, but also to innocent bystanders and to basic social order.
The U.S. is sending more aid now to Ukraine.
That would include an additional $3 billion in aid to train and equip Ukrainian forces. It would also involve additional U.S. troops remaining in Europe for the foreseeable future. This new funding will be aimed at helping Ukraine in the long term. The war hits the 6-month mark on Wednesday when Ukraine celebrates its Independence Day.
That's CBS's Cameron McCormick at the Pentagon. And the Department of Labor now says a Hyundai plant in Alabama violated child labor laws. That company called SL Alabama employed kids under 16 to make parts like headlights for Hyundai and Kia. This is CBS News.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance, so you only pay for what you need. Visit libertymutual.com to learn more.
Hi, it's Tara from Green Mountain Solar. If going solar has been on your to-do list, we want to let you know that solar incentives are set to decrease in Vermont by the end of the month. Think of this as your friendly reminder to give us a call. Our solar advisors are here to explain the upcoming changes. We'll help you navigate your options so that you can get the high-quality system that's right for you. And to make sure you get the best value, we can get your permit submitted before the September 1st deadline to protect the incentives. As always, we promise no hard sales. From the front office to the installers, our team is dedicated to making solar simple, offering real site evaluations, handling the paperwork, and answering all your questions. We're here to empower you to make the best energy choice. Contact us today to set up a free, no-pressure site visit to learn more about who we are and what we offer. Find us at greenmtnsolar.com. That's greenmtnsolar.com.
Looking for a fun way to support the Vermont Mountaineers? Well, here it is.
Join headliner Chad Hollister's large band with special guests, the Vermont Bluegrass Pioneers, for an evening of music, games, and drinks, all in support of the Vermont Mountaineers. Gates open at 4 with music from 6 to 9. There will be kids' games and drinks from Bar Hill. Perfect Pitch, a benefit for the Vermont Mountaineers, Saturday, September 24th at Bar Hill in Montpelier. Tickets available at chadmusic.com.
How well does your garden grow? Tune in Saturdays at 12:30 for In the Garden with Peter Burke. Peter and co-host Joel Nashman give you 1 full hour of the latest news, helpful tips, and your calls to talk about what's happening in your garden. It's brought to you in part by the Willie's Store, family-owned since 1900 in Greensboro. In the Garden with Peter Burke, live Saturdays at 12:30. Hear the podcast anytime at WDEVradio.com.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Red Sox lineups will come your way in about 4 minutes. We'll get the pregame show here in about 5 minutes on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Patriots wide receiver room is sorting itself out in a big way, and for me, it all comes down to one question now. Do the Patriots want to take 5 wide receivers or 6 wide receivers? That is the only thing left to determine. We spent all this time this offseason talking about the numbers in the wide receiver room and how everybody can play despite not being a big name. I really wondered who was going to make this roster. Well, again, final piece of the puzzle. Do you want to keep 5 or 6 wideouts? Because let's examine this one last time. Devontae Parker's a lock. Jacoby Myers is a lock. Nelson Aguilar is 2, and so is Kendrick Bourne. As of now, I wouldn't trade any of those players, so I'm assuming they're around. So those 4 are locks. Tyquan Thornton is hurt, so he's out of it right now. He doesn't affect the numbers anymore. And the curveball in all this is that the preseason star, LaJordan Humphrey, I think he's going to make this roster as a tight end. Bill Belichick mentioned he's got kind of tight end qualities. Humphrey said yesterday that he's been practicing with the tight ends. He's gotten some work there, and he feels comfortable doing it, and he likes doing it. They've already cut Dalton Keene, their former third-round draft pick, who they traded up for and bust there in the draft spot. But I think LaJordan Humphrey makes this team as a tight end. So now you're left with just Christian Wilkerson and Trey Nixon. At that point, do you want to keep 5 or 6? If you want to keep 5, there's room for one of them. If you want to keep 6, there's room for both, and we move on. I would keep both. Devontae Parker is off injured. Nelson Aguilar has been off injured in his career. You're already down Thornton. The last thing I want to do is cut a guy and then in week 1 have one of my wide receivers I kept get injured, and now I'm behind the 8 ball all over again. That's how quickly it can happen in the NFL. I'd keep both Nixon and Wilkerson, have them on my active roster, only activate one of them for the game. You know, have on the 53, keep them both there, but only have one active for the game. If you only want to keep 5 on a game day, that's fine. But I can't risk cutting a guy and then losing them, having my guy get hurt and being out. Can't risk putting him on a practice squad and having him get signed by another organization. So then when someone gets hurt, I can't backfill the roster. Take the 6 wide receivers and call it a day. If everybody is magically healthy when Tyquan Thornton gets back, then you can cut someone if necessary. But until that point, I don't want to let Christian Wilkerson or Trey Nixon go. Maybe Wilkerson dresses in week 1 and Nixon's, is the guy who's, in the street clothes on the side. But I need both these guys on my roster as far as I'm concerned. By the way, I talk about teams that kind of build up the farm system and then, spend big money. That's what the Blue Jays have done too, right? Vlad, Biggio, Bichette, those are farm system guys. You go spend money on Kevin Gausman, you absorb money in Matt Chapman. This is how teams do this. I think the Red Sox are doing the same thing as well. Ross Stripling goes for Toronto, Josh Winkowski for the Red Sox. George Springer leads off at DH, Vlad Jr. is at first. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is in left, Alejandro Kirk is the catcher. Teoscar Hernandez is in right, Bo Bichette is at shortstop. Matt Chapman is at third. Kevin Biggio is at second. Jackie Bradley Jr. is the center fielder. Tommy Pham leads off for the Sox. Alex Verdugo in right. Bogarts at shortstop. Rafi Devers at third. JD Martinez the DH. Christian Arroyo at second. Kike Hernandez in center. Franchi Cordero at first. Kevin Plawecki is the catcher. Roster news and notes for the Red Sox. Nathan Eovaldi's to the injured list. Trevor Story is going to start a rehab assignment tomorrow. And Eric Hosmer is on the injured list as well. Red Sox said they did not think about bringing up one of their top prospects, Tristan Casas. So that is why you get Franchi Cordero playing at first today. The Blue Jays come into this one at 65-55, 10 games over 500. Again, tied with the Mariners for the second wild card spot in the American League. Red Sox 60-62, 2 games under and 6 back. Buster Olney is going to stop by tomorrow. Usually he's with us on a Thursday. He'll be with us tomorrow. Tell us his takeaways from the Little League Classic this past weekend. Go Sox. We'll see you tomorrow.
This is the World Champion.